Unit levels in Wuthering Waves is extremely important for a multitude of reasons, but above all, I'm sure everyone is most excited for unit level 45, eyeing the 5-star weapon Selector. In this video, I will try my best to help you make an informed decision on which weapon to pick, not just for the weapon box, but also in general, the standard weapon banner convene based on practical reasons. Let's dive right in. To start things off, not all 5-star weapons are built the same, and disregarding other factors that I'm going to mention later in this video, which is equally as important, this is how I rank the 5 weapons based off their flexibility, stats, and weapon effect. Starting with the weakest weapon of the bunch, it has to be the Abyss Surges. First off, currently the only 2 Gauntlet DPS units are Lingyang and Yuanwu, and Yuanwu relies on defense scaling, so Abyss Surges really only serves Lingyang. Now, despite being the best Gauntlet for him since it carries some energy regeneration percentage that you definitely want if using him as a hyper carry, an attack percent base stat just isn't as good as crit rate percentage, which is key for scaling and suffers less diminishing returns. What's more, it also comes with a relatively weak or niche weapon effect that requires the user to use both basic attack and resonance skill to fully utilize it. Hence, I don't see it being that relevant for future 5-star Gauntlet DPS releases, so only pick this up if you are a Lingyang main. Moving on, next we have the Lustrous Razor, which is a broad blade that I consider only slightly better than the Abyss Surges in terms of their pickability. As there are currently 2 broad blade DPS users in Ziyan and Calcharo with a 3rd DPS unit, Jingxi, soon in version 1.1, this weapon does have better flexibility than the gauntlets as of now. However, similar to the Abyss Surges, this comes with an attack percentage base stat alongside a niche weapon effect activation, as it requires the unit to have a relatively low resonance skill cooldown and damage based resonance liberation skill. Hence, it really only serves Calcharo the best, and using it on Ziyan is better of course than the 4-star counterparts, but it is not the strongest if I were to say so myself. Next up, we have the Cosmic Ripples, which is in my opinion a pretty good pickup, as there are currently 2 Rectifier DPS units in the game, being Inlin and Encore, and this makes the weapon a decent choice, especially if you have both of these units. This Rectifier, despite having an attack percentage base stat, does boast an impressive 54% attack, which is 18% higher than the 4-star counterpart Jingzhou Keeper. This makes it a really good stat stick, even though the weapon effect activation is not the best for non-basic attack focus units and only serves Encore the best when using her as a typical hyper carry. Now onto our top 2 weapon candidates, we have the Static Mist Pistol in the 2nd place. Now despite the fact there are currently no 5-star pistol DPS units, we have 3 4-star pistol units in Alto, Chixia and Mortafi. Regardless, this means the pistol pickup currently only serves 4-star units, but this can be overlooked somewhat as this weapon is the only pistol that gives crit rate percentage, which is extremely valuable, with its weapon effect being really good for the support sub-DPS archetype by boosting the swapped-in Resonator's attack by 10%. This makes it extremely good for Mortafi at the moment, which is a very good 4-star unit that people use to support heavy attack based units like Ziyan. The energy regen here also comes in handy given the support role, making this pistol a great pick. The only downside for this pistol is the lack of a buff for the pistol user themselves, but I think this is overall already a very strong weapon just as a stat stick. And of course, our top pick is none other than our Emerald of Genesis, which is a sword weapon. First off, this weapon is incredibly flexible as it can serve 4 units currently in Danjing, Rover, Sanhua and even Yangyang, and with 1.1 release, Changli is also a sword user which could utilize this weapon. This sword also comes with a base crit rate percentage and a really decent weapon effect, pretty much giving you a 100% uptime on 6% attack buff and possibly a 12% attack buff for units with lower resonance skill cooldowns, so no doubt this is the best weapon to pick up if you were to just consider only within the 5-star standard weapon pool. However, with signature weapons entering the picture, it's not as straightforward. Now, given how we can share a single weapon across multiple units on different teams, especially in the Tower of Adversity, the most logical thing to do is to first aim for one 5-star weapon for each weapon type, be it a standard 5-star weapon or a signature 5-star weapon. In my opinion, signature weapons are basically 6-star weapons as they always possess a generic all damage 12% bonus alongside some form of crit rate or crit damage in either their base stats or weapon effect, making them typically more than 10% DPS higher compared to the standard 5-star weapons. This means that if you have or are intending to pick up an upcoming signature weapon, avoid picking the 5-star weapon from the selector that shares the same weapon type. For example, avoid selecting the Lustrous Razor if you already have the Verdant Submit, or the Cosmic Ripples if you already have or are going for the String Master. Now, if you are someone that's not concerned with having one 5-star weapon for each weapon type and are instead thinking of getting dupes from the weapon selector, I would recommend consider going for a dupe but keeping the duplicate copy as a backup in case you want to run 2 DPS units of the same weapon type in one team, especially given how dual DPS quick swap teams currently are very relevant. Taking examples of the current units and meta team comps, Havoc Rover and Tanzing is a double sword team comp, and Yinlin Encore is a double rectifier team comp, but these are the only ones I can think of at the moment. But of course in the future, with more units being released, this will become more and more relevant. Now, as for selecting a weapon as a duplicate for Ascensions, I strongly recommend against it, especially since the 5-star weapons in general have very minimum gains even if you were to ascend it further, given the fact their weapon effects are usually relatively niche or just doesn't possess good scaling. So taking the Emirate of Genesis as an example, it only gives you about a 1%-ish increase in damage per ascension, which is really nothing to write home about. Regardless, I'm interested in hearing what you are selecting for your weapon box in the comment section below, and I hope I helped you out in making that decision easier. Now that you have your 5-star weapon, maybe it's time for you to learn how to best tackle the Tower of Adversity by checking this video out. I'll see you guys over there. This is Corky Gachas, signing off.